Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage.
Representative Jared Moskowitz just walked into a hearing with a prop that sent Attorney General Pam Bondi into a tailspin. And it wasn't a 4,000-page spending bill. It was the Trump Bible and a binder full of secrets. We've heard for a year that the Epstein files were a priority, that the list was sitting right on the desk. But when the cameras turned on, the story changed. Stick around until the end, because when Moskowitz asks Bondi to read from her own burn book, her reaction tells you everything you need to know about who this administration is actually protecting. Hit subscribe. We're diving into the receipts they don't want you to read.
Chairman, good morning, Attorney General Bondi.
Good afternoon.
You're right. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. I wrote this morning. We've known each other a long time, and I'll always be appreciative for your assistance when you were Attorney General in Florida after the shooting at my high school at Marjory Stoneman Douglas in my hometown of Parkland when we passed a bipartisan bill, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which was the largest policy response to a school shooting in American history. Your department also prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law a constituent of mine and former felon that had plans to kill me when he was picked up by law enforcement after he was target practicing in his backyard with 2 rifles, a scope, a silencer, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, an anti-Semitic manifesto. My name was the only name on their target list, and my kids found out about this from their friends at school. So thank you. However, the most transparent administration in American history. Before Trump, we didn't know the word transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part 1 of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, you know, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massey petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress, every member of the House except one, and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012, we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed, though, statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see you flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
Moskowitz didn't just summarize the Epstein files. He gave us the word-for-word breakdown that makes the official story look like a parody. For 12 months, we were told there was a list. Then we were told there was no list. Then we were told the whole thing was a hoax. But the receipts don't lie. According to the documents Moskowitz entered into the record, we aren't just looking at one man. We are looking at a worldwide trafficking ring with partners that are currently hidden. There are 6 names, just 6 names that are sitting there ready to be revealed if someone just has the courage to reveal them. Instead, what do we get? We get a deputy attorney general meeting with Galen Maxwell, followed by a lucky transfer to a minimum security facility. This is the rule of experts and the two-party protection scheme in real time. They create a crisis of openness, demand your trust, and then hide the waste, or in this case, the predators, behind layers of government hiding. Bondi sat there as the example of this gatekeeping. Moskowitz pointed out that the House and Senate had to practically drag these files into the light with a veto-proof majority because the administration wouldn't budge. It wasn't about justice for the victims. It was about protecting the business model of the elite. When you can't argue with the facts, you attack the messenger. Watch how Bondi changes direction. She doesn't address why Trump's name is in the files more than a made-up wizard. She doesn't explain the 29 associates who cut secret DOJ deals. Instead, she gets offended. She claims that nothing is funny about mocking the Bible. It's the classic distraction. She uses moral outrage as a shield to avoid talking about the burn book sitting right in front of her. Moskowitz literally asked her to flip to the section of her binder labeled Jared Moskowitz, the research her staff prepared for the hearing, and she refused to read a single line. Think about that. She has a binder full of dirt on a sitting congressman ready to go, but she can't find the time to reveal 6 names of Epstein's partners. This is your government at work. They have the resources to build burn books on their political enemies, but when it comes to the most widespread trafficking scandal in modern history, they suddenly lose their reading glasses. This is the widespread issue. Every time the government loses track of information, someone is getting rich, and that someone is never you. They use these massive binders and 4,000-page documents to bury the truth and then shame anyone who asks for a review period as being disrespectful or offensive. Bondi isn't protecting the Bible. She's protecting the hidden parts. Single subject bills, revealed files, responsibility that isn't a joke. These are new concepts to people like Pam Bondi. When the receipts are in 4K, there's nowhere left to hide, so they hide behind the binder. We need to stop letting outrage be a replacement for answers. Drop a comment below. Why is the Attorney General more interested in her burn book than the 6 hidden names in the Epstein files, like Pam Bondi?